I never thought family could cut deeper than a knife, but at that Christmas dinner, my father proved me wrong. He leaned across the turkey carcass, his voice like gravel over the crackling fire, and declared that I, Emily Hargrove, his own flesh and blood, wouldn't inherit a single cent of the empire he'd built on lies and leveraged buyouts. The silverware hit the plates like accusations, my mother's crystal wineglass trembling in her grip, and my brother Jack smirked from the end of the table, his eyes gleaming with the satisfaction of a fox that's already devoured the henhouse. Then Dad's phone buzzed on the damask tablecloth, a notification from Forbes. No doubt, and he snatched it up, his ruddy cheeks paling to ash as he scrolled. Emily. The list. You're number 47. His fork clattered to the floor, echoing through the brownstone like a gavel's fall. And in that frozen instant, the entire room knew the prodigal daughter wasn't crawling back begging. She'd risen from the ashes he'd scattered her in, and she was here to collect. That moment wasn't the beginning, it was the detonation. But to understand the blast radius, you have to rewind to the summer 5 years prior, when the Hargrove name still meant untouchable power in the cutthroat canyons of Wall Street. I was 25, fresh out of Wharton with an MBA that felt like a golden ticket, interning at Hargrove Capital, Dad's crown jewel of a hedge fund. He called it the family business, but it was his throne. And I was the eager heir apparent, logging 90-hour weeks analyzing derivatives while Jack, my golden boy brother 3 years my senior, partied his way through networking events in the Hamptons. Our family was the epitome of old money new tricks. Dad, Victor Hargrove, the silver-tongued shark who'd turned a sleepy real estate portfolio into a $2 billion beast by the 90s. Always in bespoke suits and whispering deals over dry martinis at the Four Seasons. Mom, Lydia, the socialite surgeon who'd traded scalpels for charity galas, her Botox smooth face a mask for the bourbon she nursed in Waterford tumblers. And Jack, the charmer with his Ivy League lacrosse build and a Rolodex of senators' sons, who Dad swore was the visionary despite his only skill being schmoozing without sweating. Me? I was the grinder, the one who pored over spreadsheets until my eyes bled, convinced loyalty would earn me a seat at the big table. But loyalty in the Hargrove house was a currency that devalued faster than subprime mortgages in '08. It started with a whisper in the boardroom, irregularities in the fund's offshore accounts. Nothing major at first, shell companies in the Caymans siphoning just enough to grease palms for a merger with a tech startup that smelled like vaporware. Dad waved it off as creative accounting, but I dug deeper, because that's what good daughters do. What I found wasn't a loophole, it was a goddamn chasm. Emails buried in encrypted folders, Jack, using Dad's access codes, funneling client funds into a personal venture, a crypto scam disguised as an NFT empire. Millions vanishing into blockchain black holes, propping up his lifestyle of private jets and bottle service at 108K. And Dad? He knew. Hell, he greenlit it, covering tracks with my reports I'd signed off on blindly, trusting the family seal. When the SEC came knocking, it wasn't Jack's yacht logs they found first, it was my digital fingerprints, forged but flawless, courtesy of a hacker Dad kept on payroll like a family pet. You took the fall for us. Jack had said that night in the study, swirling scotch as if it were communion wine. Blood's thicker than ink. You'll bounce back. Hargroves always do. Dad nodded from his leather armchair, eyes like polished onyx. It's temporary. Plead out. Do your community service, and we'll bring you back stronger. Mom just patted my hand, her diamonds catching the lamplight like tears she wouldn't shed. Temporary. That's what they called 18 months in a minimum security club fed in Connecticut, where the food was better than mom's kale smoothies, but the isolation carved deeper than any shank. I lost everything. The internship evaporated into whispers of that disgraced Hargrove girl. My fiancé bailed with a text. Can't marry a felon. Babe, and the family trust? Frozen. With dad citing fiduciary prudence to the lawyers. Released at 27. I was a ghost in Manhattan. Crashing on a sorority sister's couch in Brooklyn. Pounding pavement for jobs that ghosted me faster than my ex. But ghosts don't stay buried. In the dim glow of that sublet, scrolling LinkedIn at 3 a.m. with a lukewarm PBR, I pieced it together. The betrayal wasn't just the frame job, it was the erasure. Dad had scrubbed my name from the firm website like a bad tattoo. Jack had married his Pilates instructor in a vow renewal that trended on page 6. And Mom? She posted throwback pics of family Christmases past, cropping me out like a glitch. The secret they buried wasn't the money, it was me. The scapegoat who'd shielded their sins so they could sip eggnog without indigestion. Revenge isn't a light switch, it's a slow burn. Fed by every rejection email and pitying glance at Dwayne Reed. I started small, a freelance gig auditing small business books for a fintech startup in Flatiron. They were bootstrapped. Scrappy. The anti-Hargrove, founders in hoodies coding algorithms that democratized investing for the 99%. I saw the potential, AI-driven predictions that could outpace Dad's gut feel gambles. Poured my restitution check into equity, coded late nights on a refurbished MacBook, turning their beta into a beast. By year 2, we'd launched Silverspoon Analytics, ironic, right? A platform that exposed hedge fund opacities, rating them like Yelp for the 1%. Investors flocked, millennials spurned by Robinhood crashes. Boomers tired of 401k evaporation. We hit $50 million then $200. Scaled to San Francisco with a Pi Terra view of the bay. I was Emily Hargrove again, but weaponized, TED Talks on ethical disruption, profiles in Fast Company calling me the whistleblower heiress. And all the while, I wove the web. The first thread, anonymous tips to regulators. Breadcrumbs leading back to Hargrove Capital's Cayman's ghosts. Not enough to topple, yet but enough to spike their insurance premiums and spook the board. Jack's crypto empire. I shorted it through proxies, watching his NFTs tank like the Hindenburg while I cashed out 7 figures. Mom's charities? Donated to rivals under pseudonyms, starving her galas of donors. Petty? Sure. But pettiness is the appetizer to the feast. Dad noticed when Silverspoon's algorithm flagged a Hargrove deal as high risk, a leveraged buyout of a green energy firm that reeked of insider trading. The stock dipped 15%, wiping $100 million off their books overnight. He called me that week, voice oily as ever. Emily, darling, this little venture of yours, it's hurting the family. Come home. Let's talk equity. I laughed, the sound echoing in my loft like shattered glass. Equity? You mean the kind you stole from me? He flipped then. The first mask slip. You were always too soft. Eminência. Jack's got vision, you? You're a calculator with tits. Charming, right? The American dream distilled, patriarchy, with a side of misogyny. But I filed it away. Fuel for the fire. Jack tried next, sliding into my DMs with brotherly bromides. Sis. Water under the bridge. Dinner at Le Bernardin? My treat. I met him, all smiles over foie gras, and pitched a partnership, Silverspoon integrating with Hargrove's data. He bit. eyes lighting like a kid at FAO Schwartz, signing NDAs that were Trojan horses, backdoors into their servers, harvesting the dirt I'd need. The dirt was volcanic. Emails proving Dad's complicity in the fraud, not just cover-up. He'd orchestrated the siphon to bail out a bad bet on Brazilian agritech, using client pensions as kindling. Jack wasn't the puppet. He was the eager apprentice, forging my cigs while Dad distracted the auditors with golf at Winged Foot. And the twist? Mom knew too. Her charity slush fund laundered the excess. Tax-free halos for her saintly image. The Hargroves weren't a family. They were a syndicate, and I'd been the virgin's sacrifice to their Moloch. Christmas Eve, 5 years to the month from my indictment, I walked into that brownstone on Fifth Avenue like a storm off the Atlantic. The tree towered 30 feet, ornaments from Bergdorf's twinkling like guilty stars, and the air smelled of pine and privilege. They were all there, Dad at the head, carving the bird with surgical precision, Mom fluttering with canapes, her laugh a trill of forced bells, Jack with his wife, Tessa, cooing over their newborn propped in a boppy like a prop. I wore Chanel, vintage, thrifted from Buffalo Exchange, to remind them I didn't need their silver spoons anymore. Gifts in tow, for Mom. A first edition Austin she'd coveted, for Tessa. Organic baby couture, for Jack. A Mont Blanc pen engraved, to the visionary. Dad got nothing but my presence. The meal unfolded in brittle civility, small talk about the market, bulls all the way. Vic. Tessa's influencer gigs, 10K followers this month. My side hustle deflected with vague nods. Then, post-prime rib. As the Yule log crackled, Dad cleared his throat. Family matters. His eyes locked on mine, the room hushing like a courtroom. Emily, we've discussed this. The trust, the firm, it's Jack's legacy now. You've strayed. No hard feelings, but bloodlines demand purity. Jack nodded solemnly, Tessa averting her eyes to the pie. Mom's hand trembled on her fork. Purity. The word hung like smoke from a cigar. He wasn't allowed to smoke anymore. I smiled, slow as honey over thorns. Purity? Like the kind you peddled to the SEC when you pinned your fuck-ups on me? Gasps rippled, Mom's pearl clutch. Tessa's wide-eyed Emily. But Dad's face hardened, veins bulging like rivers on a map. You ungrateful, he started, but his phone chirped, insistent. Forbes annual 30 under 30, no. Wait. The billionaires list preview. Leaked early to insiders. He glanced, scrolled, and there it was, Emily Hargrove, 47. Net worth $1.2 billion. Silver spoon valued at unicorn status post-IPO whispers. The fork fell. Silence stretched, taut as a bowstring. Jack recovered first, forcing a chuckle. Whoa, sis. Playing in the big leagues now. That's impressive. But his eyes darted, calculating losses. Mom whispered, Emily, honey, this is wonderful, but her smile cracked at the edges. Dad just stared, the patriarch dethroned by his discarded pawn. I leaned back, savoring the wreckage. Impressive? It's justice? Dad. You built an empire on my back. I built mine on the truth you buried. The words ignited the powder keg. He slammed the table, crystal shivering. Truth? You think this vendetta makes you righteous? You're no better, stealing our data, tanking our deals. You're a thief in progressive clothing. Thief. The accusation boomeranged. And here's where it gets gray. The part that'd split juries and Twitter feeds. Because yeah, I hacked them backdoors via that NDA. Algorithms siphoning intel like they siphon my life. Ethical? In Silicon Valley, it's called competitive intelligence. But in family court, it's betrayal squared. Jack lunged verbally. You always were jealous.
Eminência.
Dad gave you a chance to shine. And you dimmed us all. Tessa, surprisingly, piped up. This isn't healthy. For the baby's sake. The baby. That innocent variable. Swaddled in cashmere. Gurgling oblivious. My nephew. Heir to the rod I'd expose. Did I hate them enough to poison his cradle? The room spun into shouts. Dad roaring about lawsuits. Mom sobbing into her napkin. Jack threatening to end this fairy tale. I stood, code in hand, the snow outside a white-hot blur. End it? It's just beginning. I dropped the bomb then, a USB drive on the table. Labeled, Hargrove Legacy. Videos. Docs. The works, irrefutable proof of the fraud. Time-stamped to my prison stint. Leak this. And your empire crumbles.
Keep quiet.
And I walk. Your call. They froze. A tableau of fractured Americana. The wasp dream curdled into a Sopranos episode. Dad's hand hovered over the drive. Knuckles white. Would he destroy it? Preserving the lie for his grandson? Or press play? Sacrificing all four. What? Absolution? I didn't wait for the verdict. Stepping into the night. The cold bit like vindication. Cabs honking hymns to my exodus. But revenge isn't a mic drop. It's a boomerang. As I hailed a ride to JFK, first class to Tokyo, a summit with SoftBank investors, the phone buzzed. Unknown number, a voice message from Jack.
Inc.
You win. But check the news. Heart pounding. I pulled up CNN Finance. Hargrove Capital acquires Silverspoon Analytics in $800 million deal. Family reunion seals disruptive merger. What the fuck? I clicked through. Press release. My face beaming beside Dad's. A quote's about forging ahead together. They'd spun it. Hired PR sharks to frame the USB as internal audit, turning poison into partnership.
And the kicker?
The deal terms leaked in footnotes. My equity diluted to 10%. Board seat advisory only. Non-compete chaining me to their sinking ship. Twist. I'd played them. But they'd counterplayed harder. Dad's freeze at dinner? A feint. He'd seen the Forbes ping coming, anticipated my gloat, and laid the trap. The hacker on peril? Now mine. Unwittingly. Feeding me sanitized data while they gutted Silverspoon from within. Jack's DMs. The NDAs. All breadcrumbs I followed into their maw. Rage boiled. But laced with something sharper. Admiration. The old man was a viper still, flipping defeat into dominion. I could fight, litigate, go nuclear with the files, but at what cost? My team, the underdogs I'd lifted, collateral in the crossfire. The baby, tainted by proxy wars. Or swallow it, play the long game from inside, dismantle brick by brick. The plane touched down in Narita dawn, jet lag mirroring my moral fog. Was I the hero, clawing back my due, or the villain, torching bridges for scorched earth? Readers would argue. Team Emily trending with fist emojis. Hargrove redemption with family values memes.
Me?
I booked the return. Stealing for the boardroom coliseum. Because in America, revenge isn't final, it's the remix. And this one's just hitting the charts. Tokyo blurred into a neon haze of salarymen and sake bars. But my mind was marinating in Manhattan malice. The SoftBank summit was a farce. Pitches to venture lords who nodded politely while checking WeChat. All while my inbox overflowed with congratulatory spam from the deal I hadn't signed. Emily, thrilled for the Hargrove synergy from ex-colleagues I'd ghosted. Let's grab drinks. Old times. From Jack. Emoji heart like a gut punch. I deleted. Blocked. Breathed the smoggy air like absolution. But the USB's ghost-haunted. What had Dad done with it? Shredded? Safekept as blackmail fodder? Back stateside. The brownstone loomed like a Gothic revival trap.
No.
Not there. Hargrove Capital's tower on Park Avenue. Glass monolith reflecting the city's indifferent grind. I strode in on a Monday. Louboutins clicking like metronomes of war. Past receptionists who whispered the prodigal behind manicured hands. Elevator to the 42nd, Dad's lair. Walls lined with Hockneys and humiliation. He was waiting. Not in the throne chair, but perched on the desk's edge. Sleeves rolled like a therapist prepping a breakthrough.
Imminência.
Jet lag treating you kind. No growl. Just that velvet baritone. The one that closed billion-dollar deals over brunch at Sarabeth's. I dropped my bag. Crossed arms. Save the paternal patter.
Vic.
The acquisition. My lawyers say it's unenforceable. Fraudulent inducement. Or some shit. Release me. Or the files drop by end of day. He chuckled. Low and genuine. Pouring 2 fingers of Glenfiddich from the decanter.
Sit. Drink.
Then we'll talk like adults. Against my better judgment. I did. The scotch burned smooth. Peat smoke evoking Highland hunts Dad dragged us to as kids. Jack bagging stags while I tracked ethical vegan alternatives in my journal. Adults, I echoed. Swirling the amber. Like when you let your adult son frame me for felony wire fraud. Or when Mom's donations bought off the DA. The words spilled. Venom vintage. But he didn't flinch. Instead, he slid a folder across my folder. SEC transcripts. Plea deal annotations in his scrawl. You think I wanted that? Jack was spiraling, coke-fueled bets. That Russian oligarch breathing down his neck. One bad call. And we'd lose everything. You were clean. Credible. The fall guy with a halo. His eyes, usually steel, softened to tarnish. I hated it.
Imminência.
Every conjugal visit, I died a little. Bullshit. Or was it? The patriarch unmasked. Vulnerability a new ploy? I probed. And the cover? Erasing me from the website. The trust freeze. That was love. He sighed. Heavy as a market crash. Survival. The board was circling, shareholders baying for blood. Jack's the face, charisma sells units.
You?
Too cerebral.
Two. You.
But this deal? It's redemption. Silver spoons tech fused with our muscle. We save the family. And you get 20% bump. Plus a corner office.
Tempting.
The empire I'd craved. Handed on a silver platter laced with arsenic. But the files, those were my Excalibur. What's the catch? You destroy the USB? A pause. Eternal as a ticker freeze. Better. I give you the full archive. Jack's sins. My complicity, all of it. Leverage for your moral compass. But in return, you play ball. No leaks. No shorts. We rebuild together. Leverage. The word twisted like a knife in a wound I'd cauterized. With that archive, I could bury them solo. Whistleblower glory. Book deals. A Netflix limited series starring Florence Pugh as me.
Or.
Join the fray. Wield the sword from the hilt. Carve out reforms from within. Controversial choice. Ally with the devil to slay the dragon. Or burn the castle and salt the earth. I took the folder. Fingers brushing his cold. Calloused from golf grips. Not keyboards. One condition. Mom comes clean. Her slush fund. The laundering, she confesses to the board. Steps down from her foundations. His jaw tightened. A flicker of the old shark. Lydia's fragile. The scandal. Fragile? She watched me shatter without a tear. Do it. Or I walk with everything. He nodded.
Slow.
The concession a crack in the dam. Done. We shook. Palms clammy as a prenup signing. Victory? Or the velvet noose tightening. The weeks blurred into a high-wire act. Corner office. Views of the Guggenheim. Ergonomic chair that hummed like approval. My team migrated over. Hoodies clashing with the pinstripes. Injecting code that democratized trades while Dad's old guard grumbled about woke widgets. Jack was the wild card, cordial in meetings. All bro hugs and synergy buzzwords, but his eyes tracked me like a rival short seller. Tessa hosted team-building brunches at their Tribeca loft. Organic mimosas and baby coos masking the undercurrent. She knew, or suspected, whispering to Jack during my pitches. Mom's confession hit like a tremor, a tearful board address. Veiled as oversight remorse, stepping down with a golden parachute that rankled but reformed, her charities audited, transparent as saran wrap. She called me after, voice quavering over speakerphone. Emily. I was scared. Your father.
He said it was for the best.
Forgive me. Forgiveness. The American sacrament, peddled in Oprah clips and church basements. I murmured platitudes. Healing starts at home. But inside, the scar tissue itched. Was absolution for her? Or my masquerade? The real tension brewed in the data mines. Silver spoons all go. Now, Hargrove branded. Flagged anomalies, not just our ghosts, but fresh sins.
Jack.
At it again, diverting IPO proceeds into a SPAC shell for his sustainable fashion line. Really a front for fast fashion sweatshops in Bangladesh. Dad turned a blind eye, citing plausible deniability, but I had the keys now. Confront or collude. Leak it. And I torched the truce. Ignore. And I'm complicit anew. Nights bled into dawn at my desk. Red Bull and ramen the new scotch. Weighing the scales. Polarizing. This precipice. Expose Jack. Orphan the nephew I'd never held? Or play the long con? Gathering more rope until they hang themselves? The media smelled blood. Vanity Fair profile pitched as heiress's homecoming, triumph or Trojan horse? And Twitter erupted. Emily Rising versus Hargrove hustle. Memes of me as Daenerys torching King's Landing with family crests. Climax crested at the annual Hargrove Gala. Met steps under a full moon. A-listers in Armani orbiting like satellites to wealth. I wore Vera, Wong Crimson. Slit to the thigh, wore paint for the weave. Dad toasted unity, arm around Mom's waist. Her smile Botox bright. Jack cornered me by the bar. Breath minty with hidden Halston. Nice power play.
Sis.
But Dad's not the only one with cards. He slid his phone, screenshots. My backdoor code. Timestamps linking to the SEC shorts. You hacked us first. Tit for tat, drop your archive. Or this goes viral. Prodigal daughter's digital dirty tricks. Checkmate? Or mutual destruction. The crowd swirled, Kylie Jenner air-kissing Tessa. Bloomberg editors eavesdropping with notepads. I laughed. Champagne fizzing like fury. You think that's my only ace? The all goes live.
Jack.
One tap. And your SPAC unravels. Millions in restitution. Cuffs for Christmas. His face cycled. Rage. Cunning. Then. Defeat.
Ink.
It's not just me. The kid Theo, he's got health shit. Experimental trial in Zurich. $2 mill out of pocket. This scam. It's for him.
Theo.
The baby. Not prop but patient leukemia. Hidden behind filters and fundraisers.
Jack.
The monster. Humanized. A father frantic. Flipping ethics for 4 drips. My resolve cracked. The gray deepening to abyss. Expose him. Save the market, but doom the boy.
Cover.
And enable the cycle. My soul another casualty?
Dad materialized.
Sensing the standoff. Enough games. He pocketed Jack's phone. Eyes on me. Family first. Always. The mantra.
The chain.
I could end it, voice the command. Watch empires crumble in real time on the jumbotrons.
Or.
I stepped back. Glass raised. To family, the toast echoed. Hollow as a subprime echo. But as the night dissolved into waltzes, I slipped to the powder room. Fingers flying, not expose, but encrypt. A dead man switch, files auto-leak if my vitals flatline, or a keyword like enough hits my server. Insurance. American style, freedom with a fail-safe. Walking out into the dawn. Heels echoing on marble. I felt the weight lift. Then settle heavier. Victory deferred. The remix eternal. Was I avenger or architect of my cage? The debate would rage, in court, in comments, in the mirror at 4 a.m. The gala's glitter faded into the gray slog of Q1 earnings.
But the underbelly writhed.
Theo's treatments became my secret ledger. Monthly wires from my bonus to Zurich clinics. Anonymous as a burner account. Jack knew, his grateful nods in elevators said as much, but gratitude's a fragile alloy. Alloyed with resentment. You're buying absolution. He muttered once. Over lukewarm coffee in the break room. Doesn't make you saintly.
Saintly?
I'd stop chasing halos after Danvers. But the boys' scans. Emailed via encrypted drops, clear margins, chubby cheeks in grainy pics, chipped at the ice. Polarizing parenthood, villain to savior in one bald head. Dad watched, approving from afar. His lessons in legacy, monologues now laced with Theo needs us all. Mom baked organic cookies for my office. Apologies in almond flour. Her eyes pleading for the prodigal's prodigal return. Silver spoon, Hargrove spoon now. Rebranded bland, thrived on the surface. Stock up 22%. CNBC calling it the ethical pivot Wall Street needed. But cracks spiderwebbed. Old guard leaking to the journal about woke overreach. My algos nerfed by compliance tweaks that buried the bad news. I pushed back in board wars. Proxy fights via email volleys. But Dad's sway was gravitational. Pulling votes like black hole charisma. The flip came mid-May. Heat wave baking the asphalt into tar rivers. A whistleblower mine? Theirs. Drop docs to ProPublica. Not the old fraud, but fresh rot. Hargrove's green energy buyout. The one-eyed flagged years back? Cooked books. Emissions fudged to snag subsidies. Communities in Appalachia poison for profit. My tech had vetted it clean, wait.
No.
Subtle sabotage. Code tweaks diverting the red flags to dummy reports. Jack's doing? or Dad's preemptive strike. The story broke at dawn. My phone erupting like a war zone. Alerts. Voicemails. The CEO of a client fund screaming betrayal. I raced to the tower. Finding chaos. Traders pale as ghosts. PR scrambling spin. Dad in the war room. Barking at crisis comms. Frame it as isolated. Emily's audit team catches it. Heroes all around. Heroes. The irony gagged me. This is on us, I snarled, slamming the door. My algos were neutered. Who greenlit the cook? Silence. Then Jack. Collateral.
Sis.
The energy play funds Theo's follow-ups. You get it, family tax. Family tax. The betrayal boomeranged, deep as the first cut. I'd covered their sins, only to bear new ones. Mom. Via text, please.
Emily.
Don't unravel us. Unravel. As if we weren't already threads in a noose. The press conference loomed. 2 p.m. EST. Global feeds hungry for carnage. I could torch it live. Upload the archive. Name names. Watch the Hargrove Hydra headless. Me Too for markets. Viral vindication. Or swallow the pill. Spin the save. Preserve the fragile piece for a toddler's tomorrow. Doubt Claude. Was this redemption or recursion? I'd risen from their ruins, only to rebuild in their image, compromised, complicit. The antagonist wasn't one face, it was the mirror, flipping with every choice. Controversial calculus. Sacrifice the innocent Theo for the greater good, justice. Or the greater evil, silence. Noon hit. Sun lancing through blinds like judgment. I stood at the window. Cities sprawling indifferent. Uber drivers cursing gridlock. Tourists snapping flat-iron selfies. Below, protesters gathered. Activists from the hollows. Signs decrying toxic tycoons. My people.
Once.
The kind I'd coded for.
Decision crystallized.
Sharp as shattered crystal. Not expose, not yet. But evolve. I keyed the dead man's override. Not to leak but to lock. Archives sealed to all but me. Algos reprogrammed overnight to self-audit. Unbreakable. Then, the presser. I stepped to the podium. Lights blinding. Cameras vulturine. Ladies and gentlemen, I began. Voice steady as a surgeon's. Hargrove Capital failed today. Not in numbers, but in trust. Gasps rippled. Dad's face in the wings. Thunderous. An internal probe, my probe, uncovered irregularities in our energy portfolio. Emissions misreported. Communities shortchanged. We've suspended the deal. Pledged $50 million in reparations. And I'll lead the independent review to ensure it never happens again. Murmurs swelled to applause. Activists cheering. Reporters typing frenzy. Jack gaped. Mom teared up remotely. Dad? A nod. Grudging. The flip to reluctant pride. Backstage. He gripped my shoulder. You could have buried us. Could have. But blood's thicker than bile. Right? The lie tasted true. Or close enough. The aftermath churned. Stock dipped 8%. Then rebounded on transparency bump. Theo's next scan, remission. Jack quit the SPACs. Pivoted to impact investing, genuine. Or my influence. Mom's foundations. Now mine to steer. Funneled real good without the grime. Summer solstice. I escaped to the vineyard, Hargrove compound. Waves crashing like unresolved chords. Family dinner on the deck, lobster boils. Corn on the cob sticky-fingered. Theo toddled. chasing fireflies. His laugh a bomb. Dad raised a glass. To Emily, the fixer. Fixer. Not avenger. Not victim. The remix complete. Revenge not in ruin, but reclamation. I'd borne their sins. Flip the script. Emerge scarred but sovereign. But twists linger. Late night. Porch swing creaking. Jack sidled up. Beer in hand. You know Dad's got a backup drive? The real archive, your hacks. The shorts. Insurance. My blood iced. The game eternal. Faces flipping in shadows. I smiled into the dark.
Good.
Keeps us honest. He laughed. Clinking bottles. To family, to family. The toast echoed. Ambiguous as America, land of second chances, or setups. Readers, you debate, was Emily's mercy masterstroke or malaise? Triumph tragic. Or the happy haze before the hammer?
Me?
I watch the stars, plotting the next verse. Because in this empire of illusions, the only betrayal worse than theirs is believing it's over.